everybody. Welcome to Outwatch, a Survivor Rewatch podcast. I'm your host, Alex, and today we are dissecting episode 4 of Survivor Pearl Islands, the 7th season of the great television show Survivor. Thank you for joining us. I'm here with a few of my friends. First off, Adam, welcome to the podcast.
Hey, happy to be here.
I'm happy that you're happy. Emily, welcome to Outwatch.
Hey, thanks. Also glad to be here.
That's so good to hear.
Great. Yes.
Scott, hello, welcome.
Hey, Alex, Adam, and Emily. How are you guys?
I'm so you leaned into that so well, and I'm really happy.
Okay.
It's been just long enough since we recorded that I don't remember how to start this. So
I think we nailed it.
Yeah,
Crushed it.
first try.
Yeah. On Outwatch, we rewatch old seasons of Survivor, and it turns out we react to current seasons too. But on our flagship program here, we watch old seasons of Survivor and react to them, to the strategy. We dissect that. We react to big story and TV moments and reminisce as a whole on the good television show that is Survivor. And yeah, like I said, we've got episode 4 of Survivor Pearl Islands today. So this was the episode in which our good friend Burton was the one sent home. Rip Burton.
Rip.
We are going to...
Friend is a pretty loose term.
Hey, Burton was my friend. I don't know. I can't speak for you, but I knew him personally.
Congrats.
So let's it's been a true joy. Let's take a trip down to Treemail and walk through the events of this episode, and then we'll go through in greater detail. So actually, before I do that, I need to fact check myself. In a previous episode of Outwatch, I claimed that Survivor Colton Cumbie quit the game twice, and I must apologize to Mr. Colton. He actually only quit once. He was medevaced the first time and then quit. So for all the Colton truthers out there, I apologize.
Hey, rub some dirt in it.
It won't be the last time.
I still say quit.
Yep. Hey, it's all just a matter of perspective, right? So yeah, let's walk through what happened in episode 4 of Pearl Islands. So first, we see the Morgan tribe and the ocean crashing in on them, and they attempt to stop the unstoppable force of the ocean with some sand and logs. We see some tension brewing between Sean and Krista. Something foreshadowing, perhaps. And then we get to the reward, where Drake wins the third and final piece of their treasure map, as well as a sewing kit and the chance to loot once again. And then they, after much build-up, go hunting for the treasure that is on the Drake campsite somewhere. And they find it. But all of their build-up and hopes and dreams come crashing down as production goofs and lets the canned stuff leak inside of there, therefore soiling everything else. So it's kind of a letdown. The contents of the treasure. Some would even say that
I'd call it a ghetto Christmas.
A potentially problematic phrase that doesn't age well, but nonetheless.
Yeah.
I would argue that at
meanwhile-
the time it probably wasn't a good phrase.
Yep.
Yeah, that's a good point. You're probably right. Meanwhile, on the Morgan Beach, we see Rhino and Savage going on a hunt to look for fish at the other coast, but instead they just get lost and wander around the woods for a long time and then find the not coast they were looking for. And then we head into the reward challenge where the Drake tribe effectively throws this challenge by sitting out Rupert and Burton, I believe, their strongest members. And so Morgan wins their first immunity challenge, this pirate chess game. And in a surprising twist, they get to kidnap Rupert from the Drake tribe to join them through the next reward. And so now we see two groups at the Drake tribe. John's kind of running the show. They go to tribal and end up voting out Burton and making him the first person voted out of the Drake tribe and the fourth person overall. And Scott, Burton was on your fantasy team.
Yes.
How did you feel about losing one of your guys?
I was not feeling good. So I was super mad because literally the first 3 episodes, we got nothing from like Burton and Sean. Really, everything was peachy and team Drake. We come in here and we got all this hidden tension all of a sudden. And I'm like, man, I made all these picks and come to turn out my team is made up of a-holes. So I'm not even rooting for my team anymore. So
that's a sad state of affairs. Would you say that?
I'm ready to cry.
I would say that I want to cry.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm just kind of like down in the dumps watching episode 4. Like, man, my entire team's like wanting to vote each other out. I'm not feeling good right now. So we'll see where it goes, but I'm not happy right now.
The good news is that there's a lot of game left, and in this season, the way that our scoring is structured, really the winner is going to be just the person who keeps the most players in the longest without there being many idols or advantages to play. You can't really earn points that way. So it's all going to be about just surviving and voting well. So yeah, any big fun moments in this episode that really stuck out to you?
Okay. Yeah, personally, I thought it was kind of a big twist when Rupert got to go to the Morgan tribe.
Yeah.
And he comes in and they're just like trying to protect their shelter. And then he's like, no, you got to do this. And out of nowhere, they become like a working tribe. It was kind of cool how quickly he turned them around.
And that was a perfectly timed twist in that challenge too, just because, is that what they call them? Challenges?
Yeah.
Yep.
Where am I?
That's
okay.
right.
Because they threw that and then Rupert was like, oh, I'm not into this. I'm just going to sit out. And then he went over to their tribe.
Yeah, it really backfired on Drake in a big way.
Double backfire.
Super backfired.
The worst kind of backfire.
How many other ways can we say this?
Guys.
I got nothing for it.
Yeah, it was interesting, and I wonder how Rupert would have handled like going back to camp and that whole lead up to tribal if he was there.
Maybe he would have cried.
Yeah.
He might have cried.
I don't know. It was weird. Like this was honestly the best episode of the season so far.
Okay.
Up to like, at least in my opinion, up to this point, we had a lot of like the first 3 episodes are just so like Drake destroys Morgan, and like they're a functioning team. And like, it just, it wasn't super interesting. And we finally got to see a little bit of how Drake isn't all that perfect. And like, we got to see Morgan. I guess it seemed up to this point that Morgan just wasn't good at the game, and probably more accurately, they're just not a good team.
Mm-hmm.
Like they're not a good cohesive unit. Was more the issue.
It was interesting though how like as soon as Rupert got there, they kind of like turned it around.
Yeah, like they just couldn't get the momentum. Like they had the potential to be a good team. They just never had the chance to be cohesive because they never had any wins in anything.
Yeah.
Yeah. And even in like past challenges, they had come close. Like I can think of a couple of challenges where they had come really close to actually winning, but they, for whatever reason, just couldn't get first, or they couldn't cross the finish line before Drake or whatever. So they were really just needed that one spark almost just to give them some form of like positive thought to kind of get them on the right track.
And that's even the reward challenge for this one. Morgan was so close to this. Like this was the one where Austin like almost drowned, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
So like if it hadn't been for that, if that hadn't set him back a fair amount, also in that reward challenge, at one point, I think Dara has the mask on and she's going to run out to the ocean, but Tawana like runs ahead of her and she takes forever to get a puzzle piece
because she can't see without the mask.
Right. And so she can't, that sucked for them. And they were still really close to like they were at the point where they were about to start putting the puzzle back together. They weren't that far behind Drake and they had a serious setback.
Yeah.
It's like,
for our audience, the mask is a scuba mask. They were in the water. That sounds really weird if you didn't actually watch the episode recently.
Yes.
They should have learned from Future, and then they would know to take the mask off.
I loved that. Way more than I should have.
What a timely reference.
Yeah, in 2007, the hit single Mask Off by Future, which dropped in 2017, should have been an important resource to them.
I like to imagine that Future was rewatching this episode of Survivor when he wrote that song, actually.
Yeah, I think that's probably, you should hop on Genius right now and add that and edit that song. Future is actually referencing Survivor season 7, episode 4.
This would be a much better podcast if we pretended like the episodes were coming out like in real time, like it's 2007 and we're recording this podcast. Like,
that would be fun.
I think it would make this podcast a lot better. Just having to make 2007 references.
Yeah, my goodness.
So, what do you think about that upstart politician, Mr. Obama?
Mr. Obama,
he's got some promise, huh?
I think he's got potential.
Hussein.
I think he's got
Barack
potential.
Hussein Obama. People forget that.
Yeah, I hear he wasn't even born in the United States.
I need to see the birth certificate.
Anyway. One of my favorite moments, this was a moment, there's a few times in this bank of episodes where I just like in my living room alone just laughed out loud at the television because of the things that had happened. One of them was the early thing when the tide starts coming in on Morgan and they're like, let's put some sand up and put some logs there to stop
the sand wall.
Yeah, like the unstoppable tide of the ocean. Like, what? That's not going to work at all.
Yeah, that was really dumb. And they're like, and I don't know, like Rupert came along and he was like, yeah, this is gonna get like, it's gonna come in like 2 more feet. And I'm like, did no one think that? Did no one realize that that's the way tides work? Like, it's going to get a lot worse.
Apparently not.
It's like Austin versus Mother Nature.
Yeah, a very submissive Austin. Yeah. This is in a later episode we'll talk about later, but the pelican stuff cracked me up.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, I have some
thought that was hilarious. I'm excited to get to the pelican thoughts. We also early on in this episode got Trish's first confessional, I think, of the season. So good job, Trish.
Yay.
I actually I know Drake members now.
Yeah, because you're forced to now that they lost something.
Right.
And we realize how terrible they are, right?
Yeah.
At least they're just me. Okay.
A little bit.
Okay.
Yeah. They're a weird tribe. I think their success is purely driven by the fact that Morgan isn't successful. Like that's the majority of the reason why Drake is successful.
Yeah, they're just so bad that it's like hard not to be good.
Right.
The Drake tribe kind of reminds me of the Cleveland Cavaliers before LeBron left. Like, hear me out. Rupert is their LeBron, and then he goes to, the other tribe and they fall apart. Similar to
Heat,
LeBron
so to
when he Yes, when LeBron left to join the Heatles, the Cleveland Cavaliers failed to exist. Similar to how Drake fell apart.
When he left to join the Heatland Cavaliers, I believe is
the Heatland Cavaliers. Yes,
everyone's favorite basketball team.
When did that happen? Is that 2007 reference that we can make?
I was hoping to tie that in.
That would have been like 2010.
I think it was 2010. Yeah, 2011.
It's close.
Close enough. Close enough.
Crushing it.
Yeah, what did you guys think about Austin's near drowning? How convinced were you by this escapade?
He just looked bored. I'm sure it was like a really scary situation, and I felt bad for him because, I mean, I know, like, if you're in the water and you get panicked, you know, you could drown, and that's a very real thing, and I'm sure it's really difficult. But he was just like, yeah, I'm not into this. That's what his facial features were saying.
I'm pretty sure during that, wasn't Jeff just like, just grab the rope?
Yeah, yeah, he totally was.
Well,
he's like standing, he's right by the rope, just grab it.
I don't think it was like super far out from the beach too. Like I think Jeff's mindset was like, grab the rope and pull yourself closer and then stand up. Like, you know, it sort of had that mentality to it. And then like he was so not worried about it that they didn't send like a real lifeguard to get him. True. Like he was just like, hey, Savage, just go get him. And then he was like, yeah, maybe another person. How about you, Rhino?
That whole sequence was surprising to me because like I assumed that they have always had like there's people in the water to like save people if this happens, you know? And I assumed that was always a thing, but like apparently not, because like, I mean, Jeff was like actually kind of panicked. He's like, whoa, Austin, are you drowning? Okay, just grab the rope. Savage, go out there, I guess. I don't know. It's like, I think if they had scuba people out there, he would have sent them after him, but.
And Jeff wasn't going in. So.
I was kind of expecting a boat to come in and like, you know, a couple lifeguards to jump off, but. Yeah.
Scott, I really wish that Jeff would have just like ripped off his sunglasses and jumped in the water and swam out there to save him.
Here, I've got a floaty in one of the pockets of my shirt here.
One of the pockets. Sure.
One of my many pockets.
I have a comment and a question about Jeff. My comment is Jeff is so tan in this episode, like starting in this episode. Like he was tan before, but man, is he dark in this one.
That's hilarious.
Which leads to my question, what like ethnicity is Jeff? Is he like Italian or is he something else?
I have no idea. Probst. What is Probst?
I don't know. That could be like Polish.
No.
No?
Yeah, that was my first
It couldn't be Polish.
I mean, I don't really know.
No.
Let's Google it.
To the internet. When you find that out, let us know.
Has Jeff ever...
Jeff also
had the Jeff Probst show? He had a show?
Yeah, he had a failed talk show.
What?
He's from Wichita,
yeah, like
Kansas.
when we were in high school.
Of course
he's a licensed minister.
No way.
For real?
He could marry you. Yep.
Has he ever dated a contestant of the show?
I believe so.
Oh, really?
Nice.
Oh, who was it?
I don't remember, but this like rings a bell. There was also a
he began dating one of his contestants, Julie Berry. They broke up in 2008.
Julie Berry.
They started dating in 2004.
I don't remember her. Huh. There was also a kind of weird Jeff quote in this challenge when Tawana was going out there. He's like, T, showing a little booty.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For real? I missed that completely.
Like, Jeff. Shut it down, bro.
We also like we see Jeff getting more and more annoyed with Johnny Fairplay in
I know.
Starting in this episode. Like he's just over it.
Yeah, for sure. What are some give me some Johnny Fairplay hot takes.
German.
Is he
Probst is German. We just figured that out. Sorry.
That's fine.
I was like,
there's a
Johnny
crest.
Circling back.
I want to find the crest.
Oh my gosh, get out of the internet. No.
Images.
Crest.
Hello, I'm Jeff. Okay, I'm off the internet.
Johnny Fairplay, that's where we were going.
Yeah,
Right?
sorry.
Yeah, do you think Johnny Fairplay is funny or annoying? Do you think he's good at this or bad at this? Like,
I will say
what's your
I'm
take on him?
embarrassed that he's on my team. That's my take.
Why?
He's embarrassing my team.
What's embarrassing about him?
He's trying way too hard.
what isn't embarrassing about him?
Yeah.
Right. I think so. Like, I'm inclined to make a mean joke and say I'm sure in the low hills of West Virginia he's hilarious, except for the fact that one of my favorite podcasts is My Brother and Me, who are from Huntington, West Virginia. So even there, he's not that funny.
Is that where he's from?
That's true.
He's from West Virginia, or at least like his little like name tag thing says something
Virginia.
West Virginia or Virginia. Like
Yeah, I think he's from West Virginia.
he seems like a small town guy. Like he doesn't seem like a guy like he seems like the kind of guy who watched like movies that like American Pie type movies, but he's like from a small town and like doesn't whatever. He just seems like a douchebag. I'm sorry. You can bleep that if you want.
That's a fair assessment.
I think he's not very good at Survivor.
Really? Because he is one of the more like strategic, cunning players in the season. In fact, he's to this point, he's probably the most strategic and cunning player.
I think he's just the only person thinking about like long-term strategy, which is the only reason that is. Because like in this one, we find out that he's in an alliance with literally everyone on the Drake tribe, which means that in this tribal council, he burned half the tribe.
Right.
I suppose from that, okay, I got you. I just think he's trying too hard at this point in the game.
Yes. Agreed.
He's a very like classic old school Survivor villain.
Yeah.
In that he is kind of a jerk, playing all the sides, really unafraid to like hurt people's feelings, not really playing the social game, but playing like a heavy strategic game, Yeah.
Is he a snake or is he a rat?
That's a great allusion
Yeah.
to a great Survivor moment. Snakes and Rats, Sue Hawk.
Boom.
One of the best reality TV moments of all time.
For those of us who don't understand the reference,
look up the YouTube video.
Okay.
That's for another podcast, another season.
Yes, when we get to Borneo,
it's for another season.
Yeah. So moving on to the treasure chest thing. This was kind of a bummer for me too, because there's all this build up, and then like by no fault of their own, like the cans inside or whatever break and like spoil everything. Which is like, I'm sure, production buried the thing and accidentally cracked a can and didn't know about it. And then they opened it up and it's like, oh shoot, we really goofed.
I would make the argument that production did it on purpose.
Oh, interesting.
Hot take.
I would say they did it on purpose. Not like they cracked a can on purpose, but that's just like they buried it and that was the end of their thought. And then it got like really hot and a can exploded. And that's just the way that buried treasure would work because it's a really stupid idea.
I call it a ghetto Christmas.
I feel like you're using the Rupert mentality. Like, if we were real pirates, this would be spoiled.
Okay. I don't know if you got this soundbite, but my favorite Rupert line is when Burton talks about throwing the challenge and Rupert's like doing his testimonial and he's like, if this were a real pirate ship, we would have killed him already.
Yeah,
He'd
he
already
would be
be
dead
dead.
already.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good.
Like he is so into this motif.
Yeah,
I love it.
He's so
He's
convinced.
so into
He's so
it.
genuine.
There were a lot of weird sound bites leading up to this treasure chest thing. There was It's like everybody's, talking about what they want, like, or hope is in the treasure. There's people like, oh, I want candy or chocolates or like steak or whatever. And we get to Sandra and she's like, I really hope there's canned juice in the treasure chest. I'm like, what? Of all things, you want canned juice? I thought that was the funniest thing.
She's from Washington. That's just the way they are.
And then John had like some comment about wet dreams, and it was just like,
yeah,
yeah, that was a gross comment.
I did
It's
not
so
love
cringy.
that. And you know what I thought? I was like, we all started this podcast by talking about how this was our time with our family, and then like, can you imagine that our parents were just like, oh my gosh.
So there's that comment. They put alcohol.
That's a perspective I've never thought of before.
Yeah,
It's
I was like, how did I
awesome.
miss this? I mean, good thing I did. I would have been. Well, who knows? Probably would have been scarred.
They put alcohol in the treasure chest too. So John gets like drunk before tribal council.
Yeah, that was
He's
another
drunk like
embarrassing
half of
moment.
this season.
I know. I like, and you can tell me if this ever happens again. I don't remember them drinking the first time around I saw this. Again, I don't remember much. And I was young,
Well, and Jeff
but-
used a really weird word when they were at.
He was like, "Are you
Yes.
loaded right now?"
Are you loaded?
He
I would
says,
not
"Are
have
you
caught that
loaded?"
when I was little. I barely knew what that meant now. I've never heard that.
Yeah, that's the only time I've ever heard that phrase used.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Jeff reminds me so much of my dad.
Can't drink it too fast.
Yeah, good Gary Gertcheff moment. Hey, Dad, if you're listening.
That's the only soundbite we use of you.
So yeah, the treasure chest was kind of goofy. There like wasn't much in there at all that they ended up using. It seemed like
No.
like they ate the chocolate and then
Yeah.
it was just kind of like whatever.
It seemed like such an early 2000s way of storing food and stuff, and it was just a flop.
It was just leftover from
So
Y2K.
archaic.
That's all it was.
Yeah, the preppers threw the stuff down there and it just was left.
I did picture whenever the Morgan tribe eventually finds theirs, and it's like that, they're just gonna be like crushed, and Savage is just gonna like have one tear going down his eye.
Oh, I was really hoping when they went to
One tear.
I'm hoping when they went to the next challenge when Morgan is offered that clue. I really want Drake to just say like, "Oh, don't worry about it. It's a waste of time."
It sucks.
Not that cool.
And so for the looting, Trish takes Morgan's lantern.
Because they don't have anything.
Interesting choice.
Yeah.
Yeah, because they're pretty much out of everything else.
I think that they're not
And then we
allowed to
get-
take the last pot. Like, I think that Morgan's like really worried about it, but I think the production staff was like, "Yeah, well, you're not allowed to take their last pot."
Interesting. It could be. Yeah, you'd think they would just like wouldn't mention it if that was the case, but
I think they.
who knows?
I think they want to make it like so we think they could take their last pot.
Yeah.
And they're, whatever. I think that's a production thing.
That's reasonable.
Survivor conspiracy.
And then we get
Well, and that's like in episode like 2 or 3 or something. It's like sort of revealed that they have like 2 pots now, and like I swear they didn't have 2 pots at that point, and that was when Drake did take one of their pots. So I don't know.
you should be doing a consistent pot count to
Yeah,
call them out.
we should.
Pot
I'm gonna
whistleblowers.
start live tweeting the pot tally.
Can we make that a segment? How
Hour
many pots
7.
does Morgan have?
Adam's pot tally.
This will surely break the internet.
How many pots? We can even have a song for it.
Wonderful.
So Rhino and Savage, they went to go try the other coast because it seemed more promising. They weren't catching much fish on their coast.
Right.
And we get some like Blair Witch Project found footage horror scene in the middle of the woods where they're wandering around and get scared, and ultimately they find another coast, but it is like worse than theirs. It was pretty sad and disappointing.
Yeah, was it just a bunch of rocks? Because they didn't really show the water.
It just looked like a lot of rocks.
Yeah.
I kind of wonder if they were at like low tide or something when they got there. Like,
That could have been.
because I don't know. They didn't ask that question in the show, but that was my wondering. I don't know. That just like that sucked.
Ghetto Christmas.
Like that just really sucked for them. Like they're so desperate for food that's not rice, and they just can't catch a break there.
And I don't know. I was interested in seeing the other like side of the island, but yeah, their map reading skills weren't very strong. And then before the challenge happens, you get a little Sean and Rupert strategy talk. Some of the rare strategy talk to this point, where Sean wants to throw the challenge so that they can vote out one of their own. Now, remind me, was the plan initially to throw it to vote out Krista?
Was it Krista?
Maybe.
I think it wasn't whoever they wound up voting out.
Yeah.
It wasn't
because they didn't throw it to vote out Burton.
Right. No, they threw it to vote out.
I think it might have been Krista.
That does sound right.
I think so too.
I can't imagine who else.
Because I think Rupert and Krista are kind of they're in an alliance, I think.
Yeah. And Rupert wasn't into it for that reason, and also because he doesn't want to throw challenges because that's, dishonorable.
Yeah.
A true pirate wouldn't.
Right. So Rupert's take was to kind of just like not agree, but also not vocally disagree, right? He wasn't like, yeah, totally, I'm on board. But he also wasn't like, no, we cannot do that, right? He kind of just like,
yeah. He
distanced himself from the whole thing.
He was like, if I'm in a challenge, I'm going to give it 110%. But like,
right.
I will agree to sit out of a challenge if this is what you want to do. And
what? Yeah.
I know. I was just trying to, I don't know. I guess it wouldn't have been that hard if you sit out Rupert and Burton to throw a challenge after that.
Yeah. What was your take on the way that Rupert handled that by not like cooperating, but also not really stopping them from doing it?
I think it just keeps him, it kind of keeps him above the fray a little bit. Like, yeah, he wasn't like complicit in it, but he wasn't not complicit in it. I think that might have been a double negative. I'm not sure. But he's just kind of, his hands are clean more or less. I think it was a smart move on his part. Clean.
SpongeBob reference.
Oh my.
Emily made a SpongeBob reference to me earlier, and I didn't get it.
I'm sorry. If you cut this out, that's totally fine. Technique. Do you know that?
Yes.
Are you familiar? I said that, and Adam was like, "What?"
Technique.
Thank you.
Yeah, I didn't
It's
get
with
it.
the bubble blowing.
Yep.
Yes, I feel validated.
I mean, I believed you. I'm usually good at the SpongeBob references. I just
know.
didn't get that one.
Yeah, you were just like, "Oh, that wasn't funny." I was like, oh, okay. Anyway, we can talk about Survivor now.
Welcome to
Next
the
we'll have
SpongeBob
a
Live
SpongeBob Rewatch podcast.
Oh my gosh.
Honestly,
yes.
that would be great. Subscribe to our new channel, Outsponge. Oh boy.
We call it Krabby Chatty.
Oh, I love that. That's amazing. I was
That's
thinking
it?
Sponge Watch, but that's way better.
Sponge Watch.
Sponge Watch is good too.
Krabby Chatty.
We have
It's like binge watch, but Sponge Watch. Oh boy. Yeah, that'll be our next endeavor.
Great.
What was
That'll be available on our
Especially-
Patreon.
yeah, our sponsored content. What was especially interesting about their challenge throw, I thought, was that they really made no attempt to look as though they were trying. Between the setting people out and also like, yeah, not strategically moving people to win the game in any way.
Yeah, I didn't see how Morgan could really feel good about the win, knowing that Burton and Rupert were sitting out and just kind of seeing the way that they played it.
Yeah. Yeah, if they didn't know or at least really heavily assume they threw that, then yeah, I don't know what they were looking at.
I mean, isn't John just like up there laughing the entire time?
Yeah, he's pretty much making a joke of the whole thing.
And that's the thing, like, how do you watch someone lose a competition and that like it is a tribal, an immunity challenge, and laugh about it the whole time and not think there's something fishy going on here?
Yeah.
They're probably so desperate.
Unless, he was...
Talk about getting some honey or smoking something, drinking something.
In this case, he definitely was drinking something.
Yeah.
Are you loaded?
Are you loaded? You can just like in that moment, you just see the disdain that Jeff Probst has for Johnny Fairplay.
Yeah. What the hell, Johnny Fairplay? You show up to tribal loaded?
Just making a complete mockery of this game.
Yeah.
I bet I know that Johnny Fairplay comes back in at least one other season. And so I wonder how much Jeff like had to fight about that. Like,
absolutely not.
He can't come back.
Yeah. So the twist then, we talked about it already, was that Morgan got to kidnap someone and they picked Rupert. First of all, any disputing that that's the right call?
No.
To choose Rupert from that tribe?
I think any outsider looking at tribe knows that Rupert is the best competitor. Like, he outdid Austin in that strength competition earlier, and he just like he's a guy who gives it 110%. I don't think that you can choose anyone else from that tribe.
Agreed. Rupert's the best.
There's two strategies or whatever to choosing someone. One is to do what they did and pick like the person who would be the greatest asset to you, or seems like the biggest leader on their tribe to kind of like screw with their decision making and their providingness and give that to you. Or you could do the opposite. And if there's someone you like, look at the other tribe and you think, okay, they probably want to vote this person out. Let's kidnap them so that they'll have to like change their plans and vote out someone actually stronger and be stuck with this weaker person for longer. Right? That's like another route they could have gone.
I think if you're toe for toe, if you haven't lost 7 straight challenges or whatever, I think that's a fair strategy to take up. I think when you're that far down, you take their strongest person and see if you can turn them, see if you can get them to help, whatever.
Right.
Because a merger is coming, and even if you can't turn him, you can sow seeds of doubt in his alliances that he has. So I completely understand that strategy of taking a weaker person, forcing them to vote someone else out to scramble. But I think the position they're in, you take the strongest guy they have and hope that he offers you anything.
Yeah, I think you're right. Like when you're them in that situation, you're doing the like selfish short-term game thing. And that's not necessarily a bad thing.
Yeah, and also you have to keep in mind that they don't know what we know watching the show. So like they don't necessarily know who the weakest link is on the Drake tribe. Mm-hmm. I mean, you can probably assume from challenges and stuff who you think might be it, but you also don't know completely. I'll also like who they're planning on voting out and stuff.
Right. So then do you think it's good or bad for Rupert in this spot to be kidnapped? Is that a positive or a negative thing for his game?
I think it's a good thing for him. It gives him a chance to kind of get in good with the whole other side of the game, basically, because you do, like you said, the merge is coming. So all of a sudden, it's nice to have allies on both sides of the fence, so to speak. So you're not just all of a sudden they see, hey, Rupert's the strongest guy, let's vote him out.
Well, and especially knowing that you have people on your tribe, in this case, Bert and Sean and Michelle or whatever her name is. Is that the college kid?
Yeah, her name is Michelle. She's on my team.
Especially knowing that you have this like smaller alliance in your tribe, then those are a group of people that are going to be, when the merge comes, they're going to go to the other tribe and say, we'll team up with you to get out those other ones. So for Rupert, this is an opportunity to be diplomatic, and he has a relationship with them, so maybe he can split up their tribe and they can't, just outnumber his small alliance.
Yeah, and I think it worked out well for him too at the end, because like they love Rupert now. So it's going to work out well, I think, for him moving forward.
And his alliance knows how loyal he is too.
Yeah, that's true.
And he didn't even I'll jump ahead a little bit here. He didn't even partake in the reward challenge that he won for Morgan afterwards. Like, he just went back to Drake's, to Drake's island. Like, he was so just like, yeah, I'm a Drake person. Like, I will help Morgan win a challenge and then I'm out. Like, I won't even partake in the reward.
Yeah, we'll talk about it in upcoming episodes here, but yeah, he it also kind of like, on the other hand, it sows some like doubt in the Drake tribe of like, oh, is Rupert playing both sides, So I think you're right in that the good outweighs the bad, just being able to build relationships with people on the other tribe. But there is a little bad too.
Yeah, I think that the bad parts of it they're not as bad when we're talking about season 7 of this game. If this was season 30, that's going to be a rough thing to come back from. Just because there's so much more strategy. It happens so much earlier. Season 7, like, no one's thinking about it. Everyone's just thinking like getting to the merger. Like, we found out like this episode that Drake has alliances amongst themselves.
Yeah, that's true.
Right. Yeah.
Oh.
That's a good point. So leading up into Tribal then, with Rupert gone, there's kind of two groups here, one of which is targeting Burton and the other is targeting Krista. And Johnny Fairplay is kind of in the middle playing both of them. So he effectively has the choice here on who to send home. And yeah, it seemed like in the episode, I was thinking, if I didn't know the outcome, that it would probably be Krista based on the way that John was talking and on the way that the other people were talking, like their reads on him. But he ends up putting his vote on Burton and voting him out. Do you think that was the correct choice for John to go with Burton over Krista?
Well, if I'm not mistaken, the alliance that he actually voted with has one more person, right?
Yes.
Because of Rupert.
Yes.
Right, because of Rupert. So there was like 4
so
and 3
it was,
or something.
Right, because there were a total of 8 votes.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
No,
they could have tied and gone to rocks, but
not this one. There were
7.
There were only 7
but
votes.
Rupert is 8.
So it was 3, and then Johnny Fairplay in the middle. And then
you're right.
And then Rupert was with Morgan at the time. So technically it would have been 4 and 3, and Johnny Fairplay would have just tied it if he had gone with the other tribe. So he chose it, if you're just seeing about it that way, he chose numbers.
Yeah, that was my point.
Yeah, which is a good move. I also think just aligning yourself with Rupert is probably the best bet at this point in the game. Like, I think people are starting to maybe think that if Rupert gets to the final 2, like, you're screwed against him.
Right.
But being in Rupert's alliance, you have friends. So it's,
the other positive of that a lot of people, a strategy that a lot of people, especially like kind of more threatening like stronger guys in particular is aligning themselves with other potentially more stronger and more threatening guys. It's called the meat shield technique.
It's a horrible name.
Such that you, yeah, right. Such that you align yourself with a bigger target than yourself so that they're theoretically targeted before you. So, yeah, someone teaming up with Rupert in this spot would be buying themselves, probably at least one extra vote. Because if they get on the bottom, they're going to vote for Rupert first, right? Because he is the much larger threat. I don't know if that's going through anyone's mind at this point, but another strategic option.
Yeah, like I said, I think from a purely numbers standpoint, it makes sense for John to go with more people. It's definitely, man, voting out a strong guy when you just gave Morgan a win. That's like some cocky.
That's true.
That was such a cocky play. Like they were like, you know what, this guy has shown. It's sort of like he's shown disrespect to the king. He agreed to throw a challenge so that way he could vote someone out. We're gonna get rid of him, even though he was a semi-productive member of the tribe.
And wasn't this the tribal council when Jeff was talking to Johnny Fairplay and Johnny Fairplay said something very flippant and Jeff was like, so you're just going to talk about your teammates like that? Is this the one where that happened?
It might have been.
Okay.
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, because if this were the one.
Oh, it was like it was like what's basing tonight's vote? And he's like, whatever the stars tell me or something like that.
Yeah.
And he's like, is that a way to treat someone that you've spent 13 days with?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's
so
like,
everything was just
whatever.
so flippant.
Yeah,
I think it was this one.
And arrogant.
Yeah, you're right. Because this is the one where he was drunk.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they just didn't.
Yeah, he was loaded.
Yes, he was. They just didn't make it seem like they cared about any of it and the
It's
consequences.
Also, I don't understand. Like, I understand that Burton was like he caused problems in the tribe and that he, vied to throw it. But like, get rid of Michelle. Like, that'll show him. That'll show him that he doesn't have numbers, that he can't play that game.
Yeah.
And then you still have a strong guy. I mean, you're guaranteeing that he's going to flip at the merge, but
if your alliance is strong, who really cares at that point, right?
Exactly. I don't know. I understand the thought process of getting rid of him, but I feel like you could have gotten rid of someone else and shown him the same thing.
I think they definitely thought at this point too, like, hey, we clearly have the upper hand. We're good. We can afford to lose someone like this and still be fine.
Yeah. I definitely think that's part
overall,
of it too.
I just feel like they were just, as a tribe, they were quite arrogant this entire, and they're very short-sighted and arrogant in their thinking this entire episode, which we'll see if it comes back to haunt them or not, but
yeah,
indeed we will.
Foreshadow.
5 shadows.
So before we wrap up this episode, let's do a quick score. A look at the scoreboard here for our fantasy Survivor.
No, wait, time out.
Episode
we
4.
didn't do Survivor fashion or Island fashion.
Oh, Island fashion segment. Bring us your Island fashion.
Because they want a sewing machine.
Oh, yeah.
And
oh, you're right.
Rupert sewed one of the best skirts.
It was great.
That's probably ever going to be in Survivor, just period. Like, it was.
I believe it was a Yeezy skirt.
That is 2 rappers referenced in this episode.
Yes,
alone.
it is.
We did it.
We are mainstream, guys.
This is how you know we're
here. Yeah, thanks for bringing that up. That's important.
Yeah, so that was fantastic. I found it so obnoxious that Sean and Burton. One reason I'm glad Burton's gone is because he was kind of a jerk, and he picked on Rupert for being Rupert.
He wasn't kind of a jerk. He was an absolute jerk. He was acting like a middle schooler. Like,
Yeah.
oh, you're using a sewing machine. Yes, that's what people do. to make clothes.
You're such a girl.
Yeah, it was just gross. No,
yeah, I'm
thank
kind of
you.
happy to see Burton go, even though he's on my team. Like,
You have disowned him.
Yeah. So quickly you've turned on him.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yes. So after episode 1, so in this episode, the only thing that you could get points for were for winning tribal immunity. That was half a point. Voting correctly is half a point. And then if your player was still in the game after the tribal council, then you got a half a point that way too. So, and by virtue of players not being able to both win tribal immunity and vote correctly, because those are mutually exclusive right now,
right.
The max amount you could get from one player is 3 points. And each of you had 4 going into the episode, so your max overall was 4. Coming out of the first episode of our Fantasy Survivor event, Emily and Adam both finished with 3.5 points. You only got half a point from Michelle and Rupert, respectively, because Michelle voted incorrectly and Rupert didn't vote.
Yeah, that sucks, by the way, because he would have voted correctly.
Yeah.
Probably. He was kidnapped. Can't vote. And then Scott finished the episode with just 3 points since Burton all of lost immunity, voted incorrectly, and did not finish the episode.
Especially because he voted incorrectly.
Still on the episode. So he got 0 points.
What a schwans.
That's what I'm saying. So the scores are 3.5 tie in the lead between Emily and Adam after the first episode. Scott just a half point behind, though, with 3 points. The nature of this is going to be because there's not many things like idols or advantages and that sort of thing to get points for. The person that's going to win is going to be the person who has the most players and the longest, right? That's going to be almost totally it. And then you'll get points later on for like individual immunities and stuff, which are pretty sizable.
And since you get 2 points for every vote received in the final tribal, whoever has the winner of the game is going to do pretty well to sweep up.
Yeah.
Which is, that's the name of the game, right? Is to win the game. So if you've got the person that wins, that should be pretty heavily weighted,
and I think that's totally fair. I agree.
Yeah. So we'll see. The bummer with losing someone, this early is that's like a lot of theoretical potential points, like snowballing that you won't get. But even if you don't lose many in this one episode, so we will keep our eye on that going forward and update you with scores at the end of each episode. So great. Thank you for listening to Outwatch. Next time on Outwatch, we are going to be dissecting the 5th episode of Pearl Islands, titled Everyone's Hero. Who could that be about? Join us next time and find out. And in the meantime, make sure to subscribe to our podcast feed where you will be getting these Outwatch Rewatch episodes, as well as some Outwatch Live episodes, which are our recaps of Survivor Ghost Island, which is currently airing. Really fun first couple episodes, actually, and I'm really excited for the rest of the season. And while you're at it, you should follow us on Twitter. That's at Outwatch Podcast. I've been, when I'm able to, live tweeting live Survivor episodes, and I don't really know what else we'll do on there yet, but you should follow us nonetheless. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.